What did I miss? The Secret Service has no idea whose coke was at the White House. Tucker Carlson interviews Andrew Tate, and Jason Aldean releases a music video that absolutely obliterates the woke mob. All of that and more today on Speechless, The Daily Show. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Kev Phares, the 22-year-old college student from Central Illinois. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Oh my gosh, I have so much to cover. I was in West Palm Beach last week. You can go see that video is posted, all about the different interviews and people I got to talk to. It was amazing. And if you like any of that content, if you like that video, you like this one, please like, subscribe, share, and heck, maybe even comment. Let me know what you think about everything I'm talking about here. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. I would really appreciate it. Thank you so much. But let's dive right into everything. Okay, so starting off, the Secret Service apparently has no idea whose cocaine was at the White House. No idea? Out of the New York Post, the Secret Service last week ended its investigation into cocaine found in the West Wing of the White House after just 11 days without identifying a suspect. In a statement Thursday, the protective agency said its probe was, quote, closed due to a lack of physical evidence. A lack of physical evidence? Well, you found the cocaine, didn't you? After the FBI forensic testing on the bag of cocaine was found failed to turn up fingerprints or sufficient DNA. Without physical evidence, quote, the investigation will not be able to single out a person of interest from the hundreds of individuals who passed through the vestibule where the cocaine was discovered, the Secret Service said. This obviously left a lot of Republicans furious, including myself. Rep. Tim Burchett out of Tennessee stormed out of the briefing offered to lawmakers on the House Oversight Committee moments after it began Thursday morning, calling the conclusion bogus, rightfully so, and the investigation, quote, a complete failure. He said further, they know who goes in the White House. They have facial identification. They have, y'all know, you can't go in there without giving your social security number anyways. And to say that it's just some weekend visitor, that's bogus. Burchett said, nobody's buying that at all. Not to mention the fact that, I mean, heck, everybody, or not everybody, but everybody has to, in the United States, for the most part, has to either submit to or sign the company over to be allowed to be drug tested for their jobs. Almost everybody has to submit to potential drug testing for their jobs. But not at the White House, apparently, not at the White House. Anybody can just go into the White House. And then further, investigators also told lawmakers that they were unable to determine exactly when the cocaine was left in the locker due to a lack of footage. The vestibule is located by the basement entrance of the West Wing, one floor below the Oval Office, and steps from the Situation Room. An incredibly important room, one in which presidents are briefed on some of the most serious matters in America. Rep. Nancy Mace, a Republican from South Carolina, told reporters, quote, this is one of the most secure locations in the world. Some of the best law enforcement officers in the world. And they don't have any answers. They don't have any answers. And Nancy Mace is right. And she's bringing up a point that almost every American, you don't need a political science degree. You don't need a degree in law enforcement. Almost every American is kind of having. You have all this stuff. You have so many abundance of resources in terms of security at the White House, and you don't know whose this is, which adds to the question. So here's what I think. One of two things is true in this situation. One of two things, and they're both concerning. Either A, the White House is not a secure building that almost anyone can get anything inside of. I mean, if somebody can get in cocaine and, oh, well, it was in a heavily trafficked area. We're going to investigate it a little bit, but like, who really cares? And we can't really find whose it is, anything like that. It's either that or B, we are being lied to. They either currently know or have the capacity to know and figure out exactly whose cocaine it is, but they choose not to because the answer would be damaging to the administration. It's got to be, the way I see it, it's got to be one of those two options, right? Either the White House isn't secure nearly as much as we thought, or we're being lied to. My bet would be on option B. I think we're probably being lied to, likely because it would be damaging to the administration. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Do you think it's It's option A, B, or is there a C that I didn't even think about? Maybe I'm totally wrong. I always try to say that. I'm an open-minded guy. Maybe I'm entirely wrong. Maybe I know nothing. Maybe my analysis is absolute crap. Let me know in the comments which one I think we're absolutely being lied to. Both of those could be true at the same time, too, by the way. Either the White House could be not secure and we're being lied to. Could be. Leave me a comment below. Let me know what you think. But Karine Jean-Pierre, you guys know, the White House press secretary, has been asked a lot of questions about this. And about 2 weeks ago, before this investigation came up inconclusive, she said that she was sure, and she knew. She assured all the reporters in the room, grinding her about this. And she didn't want to even talk about it. It was a nothing story to her for whatever reason. She assured them that everybody, the American people, that the Secret Service would get to the bottom of it. She said that. Quote, get to the bottom of it. That's what she said of the cocaine scandal. But here was her Monday, talking about the investigation being inconclusive. Yeah, let's take a look.
The Secret Service did a thorough investigation. Certainly not going to opine on the investigation. Of course, we're going to have confidence that they're going to do their jobs and do everything that they can to get to the bottom of this. Of course, that is something that we have confidence. We will always have confidence in that. But as you've just stated, we've been briefed on the outcome, and in their public statement, as well as the Secret Service have said, there is hundreds of visitors that traveled through this area where the cocaine was found across that weekend. And so I'm going to leave it to them for any additional information, but certainly not going to opine on the process here. But we believe it was a thorough investigation.
We believe it was a thorough investigation, says Karine Jean-Pierre. Okay. I don't know about you, but I've never heard of a thorough investigation leading to not even a single leading suspect. Would you consider that a thorough investigation? Would you consider it? Like, let's use another example here. If I was doing a math problem on a math test, let's say it's like calculus or something that needs a lot of work for the most part. Say I was doing a calculus problem, and I told my professor that I thoroughly answered a question, but I didn't, and I might have done all the work. Wrote it all out, but I didn't provide an answer. Would you consider? And I said at the bottom, I said I don't know. I wrote that. I don't know. Would you consider that to be a thorough response to the question posed of me? Would you? Because I don't really think much of this has been thorough. Remember, I'm old enough to remember, everybody, just a few weeks ago when we were told that it was in a library, but now it's somewhere else. Now it's in this locker, and now it's by the Situation Room under the Oval Office. Heck, they didn't even do a thorough job of telling us where the cocaine was found. But yet they want to say that they did a thorough investigation. 11 days, inconclusive. That's a thorough investigation. It said that there's a few hundred, maybe 500 suspects. And you didn't maybe vet them, try to lower the list down, figure out exactly who it could be. No one? Did you drug test any of them? Nothing? I mean, especially if some of the suspects are White House, I assume some are White House staffers. If not, related to the president in some way. Did you drug test, question anybody? Thorough investigation. That's what it's claimed as. It's a thorough investigation. Doesn't sound very thorough to me. Not a single answer. Interestingly enough, there was a guy that went on Fox News yesterday that had a little bit to say about this. And I think this guy is probably kind of an expert. So this guy goes on Fox News. I'm going to play the clip of him going on Fox News, but I believe he's probably an expert, at least in cocaine a little bit. This is Leonardo DiCaprio portraying him in the movie The Wolf of Wall Street. This guy's name is Jordan Belfort. And these are quotes basically from, this movie's based on his autobiography. And so here's Jordan Belfort, played by Leonardo DiCaprio, just describing a day in his life back, I believe in the late 1980s, early 1990s. Here is this clip.
On a daily basis, I consume enough drugs to sedate Manhattan, Long Island, and Queens for a month.
Okay, Mr. Jordan.
I take Quaaludes 10 to 15 times a day for my back pain, Adderall to stay focused, Xanax to take the edge off, pot to mellow me out, cocaine to wake me back up again, and morphine, well, because it's awesome. More to make them. But of all the drugs under God's blue heaven, there is one that is my absolute favorite. See, enough of this shit'll make you invincible, able to conquer the world and eviscerate your enemies. Oh! And I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about this.
He's talking about money. Is that Jordan Belfort or is that Hunter Biden? Because it seems like it could be the same. Honestly, that's Hunter Biden's movie, everybody. The Wolf of Pennsylvania Avenue, I guess. Something like that. No, but that's Leonardo DiCaprio portraying Jordan Belfort in The Wolf of Wall Street. Jordan Belfort has gone on record saying, talking about his crazy amount of drugs that he has done in his lifetime. And so there was actually an interview Jesse Waters conducted with Jordan Belfort on Fox News on his show on Fox. And here's what Jordan had to say about the cocaine scandal that is rocking the White House and America right now.
So what do your instincts tell you, Jordan?
So listen, obviously, I don't know for sure, but here's my theory. The obvious person to point to is Hunter Biden. Why? Because the action, like what people aren't focused on is why would someone take it out of their pocket and leave it somewhere? The answer is because when you're in that mindset of an addict, you want to have like little drop points so you can kind of sneak in, take a quick hit, leave it there for safekeeping, and come back. So it was being stored somewhere. In other words, you could easily keep it in your pocket, get in and out without getting detected. So the person that put it there had to be there on a consistent basis to keep using it undetected. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, listen, hopefully he stopped, but people typically don't stop using the drug unless they've suffered massive consequences. And this guy hasn't suffered consequences for anything, whether it's not declaring taxes, whether it's going on the board of Burisma and why was he there? Whether it's becoming a famous artist overnight and selling scribble scrabble for like hundreds of thousands of dollars, no consequences there. So why would he have stopped using drugs? I wonder, when there's no consequences. Typically, that's just not the way it happens, although I seriously hope he's not still an addict. That's my theory.
Yeah. So he's basically saying, well, because they were talking about Hunter Biden there, he's never had any consequences for his actions, and he's right. He's right. When has Hunter Biden ever actually received consequences for his actions? The closest you could say is his sweetheart deal. We all know about the sweetheart deal. The sweetheart deal he got in his gun criminal charge, along with a few other charges on there. That's the only time he's ever come close. And it's like, it was a slap on the wrist. He's never actually had any retribution for his actions. And you can't even count, oh, well, he's been thrown in the media and everything like this. Because you want to know why you can't count that? Is because the liberal media does not cover it the same way. You'll have conservative media that will go out and talk about it. But remember when they tried to cover the laptop story? Suppressed. People banned on Twitter before it was owned by Elon Musk. Banned on Twitter for that. And then the liberal media will go out when they do decide to talk about Hunter's obvious drug addiction. They'll go out and say, oh, well, he's a troubled guy. Cut him some slack. He's a troubled guy. This like 50-some-year-old dude. Maybe 40s. I think he's in his 50s, though. He's just a troubled guy. He is troubled, but he doesn't deserve my strict compassion, and I should just excuse him for his business dealings in Ukraine, his business dealings in China. I don't know Ukraine. I'm sorry, I don't know. But his business dealings in China, his business dealings overseas. He should just be excused for all that because he's just so troubled. I mean, he lost his brother. He's been under so much pressure. It's just so sad. It's so hard. It's so hard for Hunter. That's how the leftist media treats him. He's just their little sweetheart, their little pet. There's no accountability for this kid. Guy, you shouldn't even call him a kid. Again, 50-some-year-old man. There's no accountability for him. And again, it could not be Hunter's. It could be someone else's. I mean, like I couldn't imagine working in the Biden White House with all the crap that, I mean, heck, it could be any of his communications people. Every time he trips up the stairs or calls out to a dead congresswoman, all things that happen. I mean, that might be the only way they get through the day. That might be the only way they get through the day. But so the Secret Service has no idea whose cocaine it is. No idea. It's crazy. And so at the conference I was at down in West Palm Beach, again, if you missed any of that video, go check it out on my YouTube. Exclusive interviews with a few different activists and speakers. Really cool event. And I recommend watching it in its entirety because I lay out kind of a lot of the different things that Turning Point does for students. And it's insane. I love Turning Point USA. I love Turning Point Action. Gives me hope. And if you're looking for hope, watch those interviews, watch that, because if you need hope on that there's going to be a future to this America, that'll help you. I guarantee it. That'll help you. But one of the speakers talked about this. A lot of the speakers talked about this cocaine scandal, but one in specifically had an incredibly funny take on this whole thing. And this was Tucker Carlson. Obviously, we all know him from his former show on Fox News, Tucker Carlson Tonight. I even had Tucker Carlson Today on Fox Nation, and now he does Tucker on Twitter ever since his surprise firing by Fox News. And so let's watch this clip. This is Tucker's take on the whole, cocaine incident. Somebody from the crowd shouted out about it. I was actually at the speech. I was in the audience. Really cool event. But here is Tucker's take on cocaine in the White House.
What'd you say? I don't know what, you know what? The thing about that story, it's just a mystery to me. No one was more shocked than I was. Are you serious? In the Biden White House, somebody left an 8-ball of cocaine in a public. I was like, I said to my wife, it's just not in character. You know? I just don't believe it. It's clearly a setup. I went right back to Marion Barry and I was like, somebody set you up. I'm serious. It was, you know what I mean? It was like, I'll stop with it. That was my favorite story of all time. Because it just explains all the behavior. It really does. I mean, I worked in the media business for my whole life, so I know what the behavior looks like. But it's like crazed and grandiose. I've got a plan. You're not going to believe it. It's unbelievable. It's going to totally work. What we're going to do is we're going to totally rearrange everything, okay? We've been doing things a certain way for a long time, okay? And it's worked. But I've got a better plan. And that's their entire approach.
Oh my God. All right. That's hilarious. I mean, he hits it exactly. And it's exactly kind of what I just said, right? Just craze. That's their entire approach. I think Tucker just blew out of the park. That entire speech was hilarious, but the whole cocaine thing, I mean, and we're never, here's wrapping that story up. We're never gonna get answers, I don't think. And I've been saying this since like pretty much the story broke. Like, we're not going to get answers on this, especially if it's damning to the Biden White House. We're never going to hear exactly whose it is, where it came from, why it was there, anything like that. I think Jordan Belfort brought up a great point. I mean, that an addict will not stop until they receive until they have any kind of consequence for their actions. And give me a point when Hunter Biden has actually had any kind of consequence for his action. Anytime. Give me it to anytime. Leave it in the comments. Let me know. And if you're liking what you're seeing, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Please like, subscribe, and share. And also, I get some people commenting on my shirts, on my live streams. This one says, there you go, Anti-Socialist Social Club. If you're interested in getting it, not a sponsor of the show yet. I talked to one of the guys that's part of it at the conferences I was at. But if you want to get it, it's unitedmerch.com. It's right there, unitedmerch.com. Probably can't see it, but unitedmerch.com. You can check it out. I don't have any kind of code or anything like that. I just like them. I think they do good work. A lot of cool graphics. Anti-Socialism Social Club on this shirt. I have a lot of fun looking at their stuff. And so I'm hoping to get some more shirts soon. We'll see if maybe we partner. Maybe we partner. Who knows? But Tucker Carlson also made a lot of headlines last week. And again, I'm covering a lot of news from last week that came out because I was gone on my trip. And these are just some bigger stories that I thought were worth mentioning before I get back onto the exact news of the day, which is what I'll cover tomorrow and everything. But Tucker Carlson had an interview that is now considered to be one of the most watched interviews in history. Here's a tweet from a Elon Musk parody account. Yeah, it's an Elon Musk parody account, but everything that he shows on here makes sense. I'll share my screen. Let's take a look here. So if you look right here, you got, this is Wikipedia at least ranking the most watched interviews of all time. The number one being Michael Jackson, Oprah Winfrey at 62.3 million viewers. And then you go here and you got the Andrew Tate interview on Tucker's Twitter, 92.1 million views. 92.1 million views. Tons of views on that video. And so it is considered to be one of the most watched interviews in history. And it's absolutely fascinating. And I've had a lot of people over my time doing commentary of any kind ask me about what I think about Andrew Tate. And so I'm going to get into that a little bit. But for anybody who's watching who doesn't know who Andrew Tate is, I looked to find an article that could swiftly describe this man in the least biased way possible. But he is considered to be one of the most controversial influencers, commentators in today's sphere. He has been on a significant amount of TV shows and podcasts, all including obviously Tucker Carlson, Piers Morgan, so many. Talking about what he's mainly into. But where did this guy come from? So I got this some of this info out of Yahoo News because it was some of the least biased stuff I could find. But Andrew Tate, 36, he's 36 years old. I believe he's still 36 since the time of this writing, is a former professional kickboxer who first came to prominence when he appeared on the TV show Big Brother. I believe it's an MTV show. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. In 2016. He was removed from the program after a video surfaced online, which appeared to show him attacking a woman with a belt, something that he said was consensual. I watched the video. I'm not going to play it here simply because it looks like the woman is in only like lace panties or something like that. So it is kind of graphic. And he obviously uses harsh language. But I will say for everything I'm about to show you, with Andrew Tate, harsh language is expected. I'm going to try to go through and bleep it out, but if I miss anything, or at least lower the volume. If I do miss anything, sorry about that. Content warning on the things I'm about to show you. But yeah, so he said that was consensual. He has since made his name doing online videos from across all platforms, talking about things such as men in the 21st century, how the role has changed. He talks about how to gain money, how to acquire fame, and he makes a lot of commentary on a lot of that kind of stuff. He's really become, well, then he also, I'll get into the big story about him, but he's really become quite influential because he says a lot of things that are very shocking. He's been labeled in the media as misogynist, as obviously all the usual isms, and is he actually those things? Based on some of the comments he's made, we'll figure it out. But he went on Tucker Carlson, on the Tucker Carlson show on Twitter, in episode 9, and he made a lot of comments, and he talked at the very beginning about his arrest. So he was arrested in Romania on charges of, I believe, human trafficking and sexual exploitation, something like that. And so at first, so when you watch the interview, I watched it's a 2.5 hour interview, right? It's a 2.5 hour interview. And I watched the whole thing, and he comes off as a very almost likable guy, making a lot of commentary that seems it's conservative-esque. It comes off as making some very great points. But when he talks about his arrests and everything, he seems to downplay what he was arrested for a lot, to the point of which when you listen to him talk about it, he sounds innocent. So Liz Wheeler, a conservative commentator, took the clip, or a brief clip, of Andrew Tate describing the reason why he was arrested, but then also, and again, in which he downplays it, but then also clipped in videos from his own YouTube and from different podcasts he's done that seem to push a different narrative about what he was arrested for. So again, his charges in Romania had to do with sexual exploitation and human trafficking. And here is the Liz Wheeler video that includes that clip, but also debunks some of it. We're not going to watch the whole thing. It's about 6 minutes long. But here is part of that.
What are you charged with?
That's a really good question. I'm charged with being the head of an organized criminal group, which is in charge of recruiting girls to make TikTok videos.
They face charges which include human trafficking, rape, and forming a criminal gang to sexually exploit women.
OnlyFans is the best hustle in the world.
Are they accusing you of using violence or?
No. They're accusing me of using the lover boy method, coercing them by being nice.
I don't mention webcam until after I've had sex with the girl. If you're on dates and you're trying to mention it and shit, it just doesn't work. It puts them off. I'd never do that. That's disgusting. I'm not a whore. It's just not gonna work. You continue as normal, no mention of webcam. Fuck the girl. I fuck the girl, you do the PhD test.
So yeah, on CobraTake.com, I have my PhD program, and that is PhD is a pimp and hose degree that I'm.
Clever.
And
Clever.
That teaches basically how I got girls, how I met girls, how I got girls to like me, how I got girls to fall in love with me to work on webcam for me.
And you're always working. Why don't you work for me so we spend more time together? Work for you doing what? So I'll have a webcam business. Oh, I don't want to do that. So, okay, I know you don't want to do that, but listen, come, let's have a meeting. Let's just talk about it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Fine. But let me explain it to you properly. In fact, I'll bring one of the girls who works for me. Your bottom bitch is the one who does the selling. You don't do the selling. The girl has to hear it from a girl. And this is where your bottom bitch has to be trained. That's why I said it's so important to have a good first girl.
Because that's what I did. That was my MO, was find girls, make them love me, and make them work for me.
This girl's like, okay, well, I'll try it. Put both girls on camera together the first day. So the new girl can sit there and just sit with the other girl and get drunk. Give them a bottle of vodka.
First night that I worked for him, Andrew bought me like 5 bottles of wine. So I got completely drunk because I'd never done webcam work. So I was very, very nervous.
And that's how I got rich. So that teaches everything I know from start to finish about not only getting girls, not only obtaining them, but retaining them. Because that's a completely different game as well.
So he goes
over time.
We'll
I
keep
just
watching.
built up this big little empire of webcam girls. At one point, I had 4 locations, 75 girls working for me. I'd take around half of the money, around 50%.
You take 50%.
Around 50%.
They thought.
So he keeps going on, and it keeps going on with more and more instances of which Andrew Tate likely probably did some of the things that he's accused of. And there's a few things to talk about when it comes to that. I want to talk about Andrew Tate as a whole because I've never really addressed this guy on my show before. And like I said, I've had people ask me what I think about him, and then I've gone back and forth a little bit. I've mulled it over. I've watched a lot of his content to try to figure out what exactly I think about this guy, because he also is kind of elusive. But I want to start off with, he kind of, in some ways, himself and some of his followers have tried to like compare himself to Trump in some ways, like the idea that the media and in return the justice system finds a guy and then finds a crime. Like they find a guy they don't like, and then he finds a crime. And so in like the Tucker interview, Tate tries to say to an extent like, oh, well, they're doing this to me because they don't like what I do. And when asked what he does by Tucker, he says that what he does is, well, he enables men to say no and reject the system. And so his whole thing that he's pushing is that, well, they found me and they're giving me this crime as a way of silencing me. And he always goes on and he says like, I'm not cancelable, all that kind of stuff. And that can be true while too, he is also guilty of that crime. And this is something I've said about Trump too. He can be both of these people can be both guilty of their crime while also being politically persecuted. Now, the difference is that I think Trump's is blatant election interference, as Andrew Tate's is like has nothing to do. It has everything to do with, well, he has influence, whatever. But it's different. It's not. He's not a political leader by any means. He's a commentator. He's an influencer, and so it's a little bit different. Trump's is a lot more convoluted. Now let's get into Andrew Tate as a whole. Let's look at a little bit of the commentary that he's done, and we'll play more clips, some clips of him on Tucker's thing. But here is another clip of Andrew Tate, and this is him discussing cheating on a podcast. And so like a lot of times, so again, what does Andrew Tate talk about? Well, he kind of made a lot of waves when he started talking about what like the issue with men today. And a lot of people found him very not only provocative, but also seeming to offer life advice that a lot of people on topics that a lot of people wouldn't touch. And so he's gone on mic in so many different places and said a lot of shocking things. And so here's another video of Andrew Tate. This is, like I said, him talking about cheating like cheating on a spouse.
Do you still believe that men can only cheat if they are in love?
Yes, I absolutely not really believe that. I think a man having sex with another woman who he doesn't care about is not cheating. A woman cannot have sex with a man she doesn't care about. If she can, she's a fundamentally broken woman, and she's not the kind of woman you want to associate with anyway. When a woman cheats, it's an emotional decision. When a man cheats, it's a purely physical decision. I think that when we talk about cheating, we're talking about love, we're talking about relationships, we're talking about the infidelity inside of the relationship. And if a relationship is based on emotion, then emotion must be involved in the infidelity. If I am in love with a woman completely and I sleep with someone else who I don't care about, that is not cheating, that is exercise.
And I think that's a really interesting thing for him to say. And this is like kind of where he loses me is, well, it's one of the many places that he loses me. But so he's talking about cheating, and he says that a man, and he's talked about this on other podcasts too. And so I'm not even really paraphrasing when I say this, or I'm not lying in any way. What he says is that a man can be unfaithful, but it's not cheating, as a woman cannot be unfaithful. And he tries to walk the whole argument out saying that, well, a woman can't, because no matter who she's intimate with, she'll have an emotional connection, as no matter as a man can have intimacy and there's no emotional connection. And so the only way somebody actually cheats is emotionally, but he totally negates the entire idea of physical cheating. And so he has a lot, again, he talks so much. He has been on so many podcasts. He has his own podcast. When all this guy does is talk, of course, he's going to say some radical things. And you think, oh, well, maybe he just was caught on a hot mic that 1 second. He misspoke. But that's not the only time he said things that are wrong. This is that seem wrong. And so this is a video of him on Dave Portnoy's podcast. Dave Portnoy is the founder of Barstool Sports. This is from when Dave Portnoy was on the BFFs podcast, and they brought Andrew Tate on. There's women involved in this discussion. And so here's a clip of him on this podcast talking about women and control and power. It's interesting. Just take a look.
And this whole idea of this obsession with equality is a truly Western thing. And I don't think it's particularly healthy or important. I don't look at a woman thinking, is she my equal? Is she below me? Is she above me? I don't do that. I sit with a woman and we either enjoy each other's company or we don't. But I know my roles as a man. I believe that as a man, I should pay for the first date. I believe I should open the car door. I believe I should protect for her, provide for her. I believe if she's my woman, she should be able to come to me with her problems and I should fix them. That makes me a sexist and a horrible person. Fine.
It doesn't.
And so, again, let's take note here real quick of how he starts off, and it sounds something for the most part a lot of us can agree with. I mean, like, yes, men, a lot of people that have traditional values believe, like myself, should open the door for women. You should pay on the first date, things like that. So it starts off making a lot of sense. And then he even explains himself, his own problem further right here.
I agree with everything you just said, but I also think
by extension,
she can have a higher IQ than me.
Okay, so by extension, right? Because this is what happens. You agree with the baseline. Everyone agrees with the foundations of what I say, but when I build on top of it, they try and pretend it's sexist. By extension, if I have authority over her, if I have responsibility over her, I apologize. If I have responsibility, which I have, I'm paying for things, I'm making sure she's safe, I'm driving her, I'm taking out the car, etc. If I have responsibility over her, then I must have a degree of authority. For the same reason, if I have responsibility over, and everyone's going to lose their mind, it's an example, it's only an analogy. If I have responsibility over a child, I have to have some authority. You cannot be responsible for something that doesn't listen to you. You can't be responsible for a dog if it doesn't obey you, or a child if it doesn't obey you, or a woman that doesn't obey you.
The super sexist path.
It's not sexist to say I'm responsible for her.
If you compared a woman to a dog and a baby.
Yeah, and I knew that was going to be. That's why I said everyone's going to lose their mind. It's just
maybe pick some better ones then if you want the women to like listen to you.
Then I can't be responsible. Then cool. Let's take a beautiful sports car. It doesn't matter.
So then he tries to make some other ones, whatever. But that's like, he explains his own problem right there. He's like, well, everybody like could agree with the foundation, but then he goes into that whole analogy and everything. But what he negates is the whole idea that, okay, well, yes, in some ways you might have responsibility or authority over a partner in the fact that, yes, you might pay for her to do things. You might pay, or you might open the door. You might have some level of authority in that respect. Okay, but that totally negates the idea that she also has authority over you in some ways. I mean, he loves to talk about, Andrew Tate loves to talk about having sex with women. He loves to talk about it. In fact, he consistently talks about he refers to women as the B word, that do not deserve it, just random women. And he loves to talk about how you just do things with women, like be sexually immoral consistently. And yet he doesn't recognize that that's an authority that in some ways women have over him and have over men. Well, let's even take that one out of it. Okay, you're in a long-term relationship with another person, and you get married, you have children. Let's take the scenario where a woman takes care of your children while you're at work, a very traditional sense. Maybe the mother's the homemaker, the man is the provider. Is it not a service and in some way an authority that she takes care of the children? That's the thing, is he totally negates the entire in that specific argument. He compares women to dogs and children, which is idiotic. And then he also ignores the fact that relationships, traditional relationships, as he so loves to push, are partnerships. They're partnerships. I help you in this way, you help me in this way, and we complement each other. So he's had a lot of controversies in which he'll say stupid crap like that. And here's really what I think it is, and it's kind of like what he just said. And Ben Shapiro says it this way too. So I don't want you to pretend like this is my original idea, but I agree with Ben on this. Is that Andrew Tate oftentimes has the diagnosis correct, but the prescription incorrect. Now, what exactly do I mean by that? Well, here's a video of Andrew Tate on Tucker Carlson. Here's another thing. So if you watch the whole video, I recommend everybody, you can go watch the whole interview on Tucker Carlson. It is 2.5 hours long. If you don't want to, obviously I'm covering some of it here. But if you're going to watch it, also try to find some of Andrew Tate's other content so you can really understand who this guy is and how he talks. Because on the Tucker Carlson interview, he tames down a lot of his arguments and a lot of what he says to sound more appealing to a broader audience, because he knew that this video is going to be seen by a lot of people. And that goes into a lot of what I want to say about him, which I'm going to get to after this. But let's first watch this instance of Andrew Tate on Tucker and talk about how he gets the diagnosis correct, but the prescription wrong. And so let's just watch this.
Survey of female happiness in the West shows just a straight decline since about 1970 till now. Women are becoming less happy in the West. I think it's very obvious. What accounts for that?
How can you be happy when all the men around you aren't men, right? We are the most beautiful union that God has possibly created on the planet. A feminine woman and a masculine man. It's the most beautiful union that can possibly exist. It raises children the best. Both parties are happier. Both parties gain. It's a net positive for everybody. There's no negative. There's no downside. But if you destroy one side of the equation, then the other side is going to be completely and utterly miserable and unhappy. How, as a woman, can you be happy if you can't find a man who you believe can protect you, provide for you, sticks up for you, has morals, has principles? There's none of those men left. So then what they do is just go from man to man trying to find it. And by the time they've been through enough men to maybe find someone semi-close to it, they've been through too many men to ever be happy. And then you have the absolute destruction of Western society. We talk about why men don't get married anymore. I can tell you why I wouldn't want to get married in America. I don't see the point in being married to a woman who's had so many partners before me that she can't properly pair bond with me, and then giving her the opportunity to financially destroy me. I think that would be a bad chess move. And I do believe in marriage. I think society would be better if everyone was married. I'm saying that if you're living in an immoral society, being a moral person, if you're not careful about it, you can get wrecked. If the game is rigged, you have to be very careful if you play it. So how do we encourage men to get married? Well, they need to be worth marrying, but so do the women, right? So everything's decaying on both sides.
So, I mean, he gets the diagnosis correct, right? He says that a huge decay in happiness, and in this case specifically female happiness, is significant sexual immorality. I mean, he doesn't necessarily say this directly, but he says, the media pushes sexual immorality, especially among women. And he talks about how marriage is a good thing. He talks about how and again, compare this. So this is the diagnosis. He makes the diagnosis correctly. He talks about the issues of how we are being controlled and how society is decaying, why our children are not being raised happy, why a lot of people are unhappy, especially in relationships. But then he goes on to say things like what he just said in the video I played first of him on the podcast. He says that, women need to listen to men. He talks about how marriage is such a strong union, but obviously he doesn't totally understand marriage, because he doesn't see it as a union. He sees it as man tells woman what to do, which is not the way it works. If anything, a lot of times it happens the other way around. Women tell men what to do. That's why there's the common trope of, well, I got to check with the wife first kind of thing, you know? And so he gets the diagnosis wrong, but he gets the diagnosis correct, but the prescription wrong. And so a lot of young men, you might know here, you might have children, grandchildren, nieces, nephews, people related to you, young people that are very drawn to Andrew Tate. And it's because we live in a world that currently demonizes men for being men, tries to feminize men, and then expects the world of men, expects everything still of men that they previously did, to be strong, to be providers, to be protectors, but never taught them to be that. And so then men are looking for somebody that they can follow. I mean, then you have men that are rejected because women are now empowered to be the controller of the sexual marketplace. And so then now men are getting fed up. I mean, heck, we just had an article that came out last week, off cover this at some other point, that says that working out is racist. It's white supremacy. Well, a lot of times men like to work out. And so they get drawn to this guy, this Andrew Tate. And so why do they get drawn to this guy? This guy that ends up telling them. And another thing, too, is so he talks about the great things between men and women and how men and women. But then you just heard on that other video that I played from Liz Wheeler that he has a pimpin' hose degree. He has a pimpin' hose degree. Does that sound like somebody who like truly respects women and wants what's best for both men and women and could provide solid advice on a biblical marriage? No, not at all. Not even a little bit. And so here's my problems with Andrew Tate. So people want to know, what do I think about Andrew Tate? One, he finds the correct diagnosis, but offers the wrong prescription. And the wrong prescription includes focusing on materialistic instincts. I kind of call them rapper instincts. So you see a lot of rappers in their rap music videos and stuff. They'll have a Lamborghini or a Bugatti, and they'll have like the hottest chicks with the biggest boobs and the tight ass, everything like that. And so he pushes that. He says on his videos, like, I'm going to be able to tell you how to get the nicest car, the nicest watch, the hottest chicks, and you're going to be able to bang them and whatever, and you could do whatever you want to do. He's the opposite of extreme feminism, right? Extreme feminism pushes, you don't need a man for anything. You could just use men. I mean, they push up people like Cardi B, who is on record, a rapper who's on record at drugging and stealing from men. They push up people like that. And that's what they push is you control the sexual marketplace. Go sleep with that's what feminists do. Go sleep with as many men as you want to. And you're going to slay, queen. That's what you're going to do. You're going to have a hot girl summer and all that kind of stuff. That's what they say. And then Andrew Tate does the same thing for lost young men who are looking for answers. Lost young men who are being told by the media that they're the problem, especially young white men who are being told by the media that you're the problem, you're a demon, you're racist, you're automatically sexist, you're misogynistic simply for existing. And he takes them and he says, you don't need a woman. Women are the problem. Here's what you need to do. And he's a more built guy and he speaks with authority. So it makes it sound like he's correct. And he goes out and he says, men, you need to work hard. You need to work for yourself. You need to get bulk. You need to get strong. And then you can go sleep with as many women as you want to. You can drive the nicest sports cars. You can fly on private jets. And that's what he tells them. He offers words of inspiration. And now how exactly does he do that? He focuses again on the materialistic instinct. The want for the nicest car, the nicest watch, the nicest house, everything, house like that. When in reality, it's shown and it's proven by statistic that won't necessarily bring you happiness. Then he's also incredibly good at simplifying and branding. That's what he's really good at, simplifying the message and branding. So here's one way that he does this. And so in this video, this clip from the Tucker Carlson podcast, he explains what he calls the matrix, right? And so this is probably one of his best branding things he's done. We're going to watch most of this. This is, again, how he is so good at branding is perfectly shown in this, and it's emblematic when it comes to how he discusses what is called the matrix. And so here is that video.
Good question. I guess some Americans call it the deep state, but I like to look at it in a more global way. When I say the matrix, I think there are certain agendas which are being pushed. I think the media machine and the judicial systems of the world work together hand in hand. I think the goal is to control people's minds to a point where they don't discuss anything that's important. The reason I use the matrix is because I've watched that movie a few times and it has so many similarities to the. Have you seen the movie?
No.
You've never seen the movie The Matrix?
No, I don't watch
Tucker.
any movie.
Tucker.
I don't want to talk about it on camera. No, I'm very dyslexic and it's hard for me to watch video.
Got it.
Honestly.
Understood. But there's so many similarities. And the basic premise is that humans' minds are controlled and put inside of a false reality so that their body heat can be manifested for the machines. And I don't think it's much different to reality. Our minds are controlled. We're put in a false version of reality. We're told things aren't true. We're arguing over things that don't matter. We're observing a false version of events. And the goal of it is just to distract us long enough for our bodies to be used for the machines, to soulless. And I think it's pretty similar, striking similarities. And even then, there's a bunch of other similarities that are difficult for me to explain. You haven't watched the movie, but there are agents inside of the Matrix. And the idea of the agent, the purpose of the agent is to make sure that nobody understands how the Matrix really works and to wake anybody's mind up. They want to keep you asleep. And any person can become an agent at any time. If they're not unplugged, if their mind is not free, they can become an agent, and their job is to keep you asleep. And you see agents all the time. COVID awoken me to agents. When I would sit and talk to somebody and they seemed perfectly rational and normal until I mentioned COVID, and then they'd fully change. No, it's dangerous. No, what do you mean? What do you mean? Are you crazy? My grandma got sick. And they became an agent instantly and started repeating the news to me. And I was like, your grandma got sick. How old is she? 97? Interesting. Oh, I better lock myself in my house then.
So he, again, makes a great observation of the diagnosis. But I want to talk about his ability to brand, because this is how he lures people in. Everything he pretty much said right in that video, I agree with. In the idea, and he's, instead of using the deep state, something that people oftentimes, or the swamp or any of those kinds of terms, he's coined it the Matrix, which builds off of this whole online community thing. Are you taking the red pill or the blue pill? The red pill being, a lot of people say, oh, that's based in red pill. There's a lot of times what people say. Red pill being a reference to the Matrix, saying that I've seen the light. I am a conservative. I'm a Republican because I've taken the red pill. And that was an online term that was coined. And then so he calls what he sees as the deep state and the psyop, as it's oftentimes referred to, from the left to indoctrinate children. I talked about it with Dr. James Lindsay a little bit in my interview yesterday. Go check that out. And the way that the left, he's termed it the Matrix. And so what he does, here's exactly what he does, is so this is branding. He's so good. He calls his followers top G's, makes them feel like they're important, like they're a part of something. And then he says that he's Matrix minded and that everybody needs to leave the Matrix. And then he also pushes this idea that you need to join him and follow the things that he says and do the things he does and watch his content, do all of that, or else you will be in the Matrix. He's a genius at it. He's really good. And that's not a compliment. Because I think he, in a way, again, is doing the same thing the left is doing, just for the demographic of disgruntled and angry young white men. And so here's the culmination of all of this. So what he really does is he takes advantage of the diagnosis that we have a society that hates young men, especially white young men. He takes that, he exploits and offers a false prescription, and has garnered a significant amount of attention by being intentionally shocking. That's what Andrew Tate is doing. That's what I think of Andrew Tate. Again, he makes so much content that there are going to be things that a lot of people agree with, especially when he oftentimes takes the premise of a lot of what he starts with, his foundation, is oftentimes in conservative argument. It is. He starts off with that, but then he builds off of it into a way that's like totally just false. Again, comparing women to dogs. He has a lot of other things that he has said and done that are blatantly misogynistic. And people might hate me. You can hate me if the fact that I don't stand Andrew Tate. And I don't know if he's guilty or not. Let the court figure that out. But again, he can be both provocative and in some ways truth-telling, not always, but in some ways truth-telling, while also being guilty of the crimes. But I don't think he necessarily always practices what he preaches. I mean, he preaches that he wants traditional values, but then also says that men can't cheat because they don't have emotional attachment. No, men sleeping around a lot is not fruitful, is not good, does not bring a man happiness just as much as it doesn't bring a woman happiness. And so here's really what he's good at. Again, he's good at branding, but he's also very fluent in internet. He's very fluent in internet. He's constantly spewing sound bites that can appeal to pretty much anyone. So that's why he got so famous off TikTok and off YouTube Shorts and all that kind of stuff, is because he can say anything that'll appeal to someone. And this is why I flip-flopped on him, is because I'd see a video where he'd talk about you have to work for what you have. You have to be self-motivated, a self-starter. Well, that resonates with me a lot. I agree with that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what I'm doing here. I produce my own show. I record it all. I upload it all. Every graphic that you see on my YouTube channel, every description, every letter I typed, I wrote, I made. I believe in that kind of stuff. But then he also appeals to the edgier when he says things like men or women should obey men like dogs obey, and like dogs are trained, and like children obey. And so he appeals to the edgier, somebody who is incredibly disgruntled, somebody who's been rejected by a lot of women, and then is also being told by society that he's demonized in society simply for who he is. He appeals to that significantly. He's an outlet for that. Feels like that young man who is feeling that way feels like he's a part of a community now. It's almost cult-like in the way that Andrew Tate does it. And so, yes, I think that there is some, I will say, I think that there is some interest in some of the things that Andrew Tate has to say. And I don't think Tucker's a bad person for having him on. One, it garnered him the most attention. I think Tucker's probably a genius, actually, for having him on. But I think everybody should do their research. So if anything that I said here about Andrew Tate is false, put it in the comments. Let me know exactly what I said that was false. I'll correct myself. I'll apologize. But as of right now, I think that Andrew Tate is kind of a grifter. I think that there's some value to some of the things that he says, but I don't think that he should be the voice for young men. I think there's a lot of young men out there that, and here's the other thing too, this is my final thoughts, is that I do also think, and not everyone's like this, I know some people that are huge Andrew Tate's fans, whatever, have your opinion. I shouldn't tell you what, or don't let me tell you exactly what to believe. Go do your own research. But I do know that there are some men out there, boys, that are huge Andrew Tate fans, and they think that women are the problem, women are the problem, women are the problem, but they also don't shower, don't take care of themselves, don't eat right, indulge too much in pleasures rather than giving any type of value to work and self-service. But they simply follow Andrew Tate because he's a person that says, well, women are the problem. Women are the problem. No, anything in society right now, everyone's the problem except for those that are standing up and actually telling the truth and not doing so for personal, monetary, or lustful gains. But that's all I have to say about Andrew Tate. Please, 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 if you like what you're seeing, like, subscribe, and share. Leave me a comment as to let me know exactly what you're thinking. But to end out this show today, there was a video that came out. The artist came out with a music video for his newer song called Try That in a Small Town. I want to play it, react to it a little bit. Let's everybody take a look right here. Go check it out. I'm going to get copyright violations on this. I don't really care. But here is Try That in a Small Town by Jason Aldean. Absolutely destroys the woke mob in this video. Let's take a look.
Sucker punch somebody on the sidewalk, carjacking old lady at a red light, pull a gun on the owner of a liquor store. You think it's cool, act a fool if you like. Cuss out a cop, spit in his face, stomp on the flag and light it up. Yeah, you think you're tough. Well, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town. Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're gonna round up. Well, that shit might fly in the city. Good luck, try that in a small town. See how far you make it down the road. Around here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town full of good old boys, raised up right. If you're looking for a fight, try that in a small town. Try that in a small town. Round here we take care of our own. You cross that line, it won't take long for you to find out. I recommend you don't. Try that in a small town.
These farmers are dropping their own crops for the day. A friend is in need, and they've come to help.
It's what this community and a lot of our communities stand for. Somebody needs some help, you'll get it.
Try that in a small town.
So an amazing song by an amazing artist, Jason Aldean. Try that in a small town. Highly recommended. I love covering different music topics on this show. And I think this song is, and that's one of the first times I watched. I think I watched it maybe once or twice before I did the show today. And I think it's important to take note of a lot of the imagery likely taken from the different riots that we've seen in the past few years, especially in big cities. And he hits on, I mean, try it in a small town, right? Name of the song. It's this whole idea, and he talks about how it comes on in the middle of there with kind of the news article kind of or news segment style thing, like, well, there's farmers, there's issues with their crops, and they're coming to help people. And I think it hits on the larger theme that I've talked to my parents about this actually a lot, is that you used to have a society, period, suburbs, urban, rural, whatever, where you could rely on other people, the kindness of strangers, right? And in small towns, for the most part, that's still kind of the way it is. You can still kind of rely on, hey, I need help. And I love it because I live near a small town. I'm not really in a small town, but I have friends that are farmers. And I know that if I ever needed, but even the people that work at this radio station with me, I have a good friend, David Paul Blumenshine. If I need a ride to work, because I don't have a car, I'll admit I don't have a car. If I need a ride to work, he'll give me a ride. He'll drop everything on a hat. Assuming he's in town, he'll give me a ride. Because that's the way that the world used to work. And that's what we're missing now. Now everybody is, you got to have, if you're in Chicago, if you're in any big city, you got to have your head on a swivel at all times. Because it's the opposite now. As you used to be able to rely on the kindness of strangers, now you can pretty rely on the devilish instinct of strangers. Somebody's always out to get somebody, especially in an urban area. And so he references things like criminal behavior, rioting, looting, try to shoot up a liquor store or to do anything like that, because it's all happening in urban areas. And so why does this destroy the woke mob? Well, today in Illinois, the Safety Act, which eliminates cash bail and also takes a significant amount of power away from the police, was upheld by our bought and paid for Supreme Court. Puts criminals back out on the street. Murderers, looters, rioters. Puts them back out on the street because it was upheld by our Supreme Court, by our state Supreme Court. And so that's what he's hinting at, is he's hinting at this decline in urban areas of lawful behavior. And also just the idea that what happened to being able to rely on other people? What happened to the whole idea of it takes a village, right? Look, I totally agree with the parents' rights thing. Like, you should be able to have full autonomy over what happens to your kids and a lot of the crap that the lefties are trying to do. But it used to be a common phrase, it takes a village, meaning that you'll need a good school teacher. You'll need people to help you along the way with your kids. If I did something at one of my friends' houses that was a problem, those parents would tell my parents, and then I'd get punished for it by my parents. It takes a village. Nowadays, everyone's on their own. We live in a divided, on your own society that does not value lawful behavior, that does not value any type of camaraderie. any type of community. And Jason Aldean hits it out of the park in this beautiful song. And this is what I say this, and I'm going to make this a consistent theme. I talked about this in my show yesterday. Well, that came out earlier today, but recorded and everything yesterday. How we need to stand up and speak out. The silent majority will not be silent any longer. We need to find creative ways to do so. That guy that I interviewed, Forgiato Blow, he had a song Boycott Target, calling out Target. This is a great example of a song that calls out lawlessness, the hate for our first responders and our police, the disdain for it, the childish criminal behavior that is taking place day to day in our urban areas that no one in government seems to want to talk about. Not even, I mean, there's a lot of Republicans, they'll come out and be like, oh, defund the police is wrong and everything. Okay, where's the federal legislation to help out with the incredibly high murder rates in places like Chicago? Heck, what are the Republicans doing about Memphis? Did you know Memphis is in Tennessee, Republican state? What's going on with the crime rates there? Huh? We need to be calling this stuff out. And Jason Aldean has a very creative way and a very large platform to be able to do it. And I thank him, not that he'll ever actually see this, but I thank him for doing so. I'm going to make sure that his video, if it hasn't already come up in one of these corners here, you can go watch his full video and save it to your playlist. Try that in a small town, Jason Aldean. Everybody, I got to wrap it up today. This has been a long show, but I really appreciate you guys tuning in. Tomorrow, I'm going to get back to exactly what news is happening like right now. But I hope you liked everything I had to say. If you didn't, leave me a comment. If you did, leave me a comment. Like, subscribe, share this video. Thank you so much for tuning in to Speechless. Everybody, also check out one of these videos. It's about to come out on the sides. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Phares, and you've been watching Speechless, The Daily Show.